More than half of our planet is covered with water more than 2 miles deep. Some of the creatures that live in the dark ocean depths are quite unlike the sea life we are more familiar with. Hydrothermal vents are fascinating deep ocean ecosystems that support an abundance of bizarre life forms. But these vents fuel tiny pools of life in the vast abyss. How do scientists find and study them? Hydrothermal activity happens in volcanic regions, so the first step is to examine satellite imagery of the sea floor, looking for signs of volcanic activity. But the satellite images only give an impression of what is really there. Before risking their equipment in the extreme ocean floor landscape, the researchers do a more detailed sonar survey using bottom-scanning sonar from a ship. Like all sonar, this measures the echo of a sound to work out the distance from the sea floor. The next step is to make a detailed survey. This can be done using devices such as the Bridget Deep Tow. It is towed behind a ship around 300 meters from the seabed and used to build up a 3D map of the unusual chemicals that come from the vent. Next, the researchers use an AUV, or Autonomous Underwater Vehicle. This is programmed to sample the chemical and temperature variations in 3D. On a separate trip, it will then make a more detailed map of the area, and then it will photograph the seabed around the vent. Each stage gives the researchers more data, so they may narrow down the location. Exploration of the vent and its creatures is then undertaken using an ROV, or Remotely Operated Vehicle, or with a manned submersible like this one, called Alvin. It can carry 3 people, so it's quite cramped inside. But it's an amazing experience to come face to face with the creatures that live here. The building blocks of life at the vent are the tiny bacteria which are able to process toxic chemicals coming from underground. They can live independently, forming large mats like this on the sea floor, or they can live inside other animals in symbiotic relationships. No sunlight and very little food from the upper waters reach the depth of the vent, so without these bacteria at the base of the food chain, none of the amazing creatures here could survive. The vent is a harsh place to live. The heat of the water can be in excess of 400 degrees Celsius, and many of the chemicals found here are poisonous to most forms of life. Nevertheless, some species thrive here. For example, these are the giant tube worms that have no mouths and live only on the bacteria they harbor inside them. There are also smaller Pompeii worms, so called because they are able to withstand incredible heat close to the vent itself. Away from the venting fluids, we find clams and mussels, which have bacteria inside, but can also filter feed on any scraps which might come their way. There are also fish and crabs here that live on the shellfish and worms. The vent ecosystems were only discovered in 1977, and new species are found here often. It's important to remember that each stage of the research might be done by a different team of scientists from different parts of the globe who specialize in deep-sea exploration technology or who study the creatures found at the vents. Researchers are always working on new ways to explore the deepest oceans, and as technology advances further, our world will come even closer to that of the strange creatures which live in the deepest, darkest places.